and ask yourself a very deep question about this replication unit. I wanted to bring this into teaching maybe next year. But you ask the question, it means the soul has been enlightened, and it's our job to enlighten the soul of the others. When you look at the replication unit, whatever they can, and you put an orange here, and you get the taste, the feel of the orange. Ask yourself another question. You want to show this thing, how it works, to a friend of you who's standing next to you and watching the cup. Well, you explain to him that the fields of the orange comes in, and then you can interact. Something very strange. The friend stands here with a glass of whiskey. And on the other hand, he has a ham sandwich. Then you give a cup to your friend to drink. And he says, yes, I felt the taste of the orange and everything else. But the question to ask you is, they're standing in the same environment. How come he only tastes the orange and not the whiskey and not the ham? You taste the same water and you say, yes, I taste the ham. Sorry, I taste orange, but you never speak about the ham. And you never get drunk with the whiskey. Why? The reason for this is what we call the process of the intention and the soul. Would you get drunk if you put the glass of alcohol, the whiskey, over here too? And would you taste the ham and cheese in a drink? In a way, if you look at it, you had your juice, you had your food, and you had your drink. Full dinner served. But why do you only go for the orange? Then, if you understand this process, then you go into the next phase of development of new cycle of understanding intention. And many times I pass in the lab and in the what you call it, packaging, and when I see these things are sent out by the dispatch unit and they fill these vases and everything, and I say, when these knowledge seekers are wise to see the truth. And this is why I always tell you, you are the cup. And if you go a step further, you are immersed in the cup, even with the soul of the Creator. Then you understand why I say 80% of the food you eat is from the environment and 20% you physically chew. This replication unit is for you to understand you are the cup, you are the replicator. But you have to understand how to get to it, how to use it, where to put the orange, and where to put the whiskey, and where to put the sandwich. Then, can I hold an orange and taste it without eating it? Can I look at the cow and enjoy, nice rump steak, I would like a stew of the tail, and I like the tongue, but you don't touch that anymore. Is there something in the dimension of us by the point of intention and the expansion of the soul, or is it we're still bundled, as I say, in the world of physicality, and we become ignorant to facts and realities of what these cups can do? Now, who would like to be the field replicator? We do the field application, we take when it comes to emotion, but we refuse to do it in a physical dimension. We see somebody sad, our body, our emotion, which is again replicator, absorbs it, and we cry because they cry. They laugh, we laugh. We have managed to replicate emotion in a way, in the tank, in the salt water of our body, but somehow mankind, when it comes to the matter state, has a bit of problem to understand. Now, how come you're choosing on what you replicate? And how come you don't elevate the understanding that you replicate? And then you see what the difference is intention by dimension of what I call the strength of the soul of physicality, where you tap in the soul of physicality to the environment and not with the soul of the man, where with the emotion you play with both. So now you can imagine what you can do with the field replicators. Would you look at a cup and put the field replicators around it and you say, I love you and everything else, and you give it to your wife and says, drink it, I brought you water. And when she drink it, the way she tasted the orange, would she taste your love? Would she taste your affection? Isn't that the Holy Grail? Now, try to understand what you can do with the field replicators. Do you want a feel of an orange? Or would you like to have a feel of peace? And knowledge seekers have been with me, and I've put them through this without them knowing. And I give them with love and affection, and then they change without them knowing. We had this situation, now you come back years later, years ago, in 2011, around that time, what I call the uprising set up by the Belgians to destroy the Keshe Foundation in Belgium. And we could hear a lot of rumors that they organized a meeting to depose me from the head of the Keshe Foundation. And as we know, the guy who died and the person who left us the foundation last year or two, they were instigated behind it in a very hidden way that we saw it again 2 years ago, the whole plan of what went on to instigate to get rid of me as a head of the foundation, and then they use the Keshe Foundation as a center of beta fast for the whole of Europe, and they are involved in. Yes, we open this book very soon. The meeting was called in, and I did not oppose it because I knew, when Jesus says, by the morning you deny me 3 times, I knew what they're up to. And it's all set up deliberately by the 2 instigators, one that the one kicked out of the foundation in the background in a very devious way. And I called the meeting in, and the setting of the Keshe Foundation in Nino was like this, where if you came, the chairs, 100 chairs were set like this, and the stand to talk was here. And they all were ready to come to, as a stand here, to start what I call revolt, to get whatever they wanted to do. I know the work of the field. I took the chairs up and I set the chairs like this. They had the instigators knowing where they sit that they can do the job. Now the circle was made and I sat amongst them. And this way, those who were supposed to be starting the thing, the whole, what I call the revolution, to get rid of Mr. Keshe from the Keshe Foundation, and we do it ourselves and hand it over to the Belgian Peter Far groups of the Belgian, headed by the woman we kicked out about recently, and the one who we know already gone. I got up and I went in the kitchen and I made drink. And I served them one by one. You call it replication cup. I call it the intention of love cup. What was to become the uprising, it became the whole process of what we call unity, because they felt the touch, the love of a man who was supposed to be their head serves them. Christ did that with washing the foot. Is not the physical what you do, is the intention and the soul and the beauty you give. And this meeting became the beginning of the growth of the Keshe Foundation so radically around the world. This is exactly when I tell you we need to do this job with the negotiators in Vienna. It'll become the uprising for the next cycle of man generation of peace and unity. In this process, we see how we become that cup of replication. And we see how we can give a cup of life not necessarily as water, but even as a soul. And then to elevate. We meet the criteria of transferring a soul, and the people around us become the cup they receive it. But we transfer it with the level of the soul, through the intention of to give unconditional, that you can pick from what you need. And then when they pick from one strength, and when it's fulfilled, they go to the next, because you're still here unconditionally giving. And then they go to the next strength, and then go to the next strength, till they become part of you. When you give, you don't give one intention. You give the totality of the intention, the totality of the purpose. And it's just filling one, going to the next one. When you give only one, you're stuck with it. Now, you have to establish the next one. And you see these things, you feel these things, you understand these things. And then becomes a cup of replication. Mankind is so physical that it does not see the hidden knowledge we have put behind a lot of the technologies. Because that's the only way we can reach you. And then in the future, maybe some people understand. One touch makes you to fall in love. One look makes you to give your life for it. One word changes your life, because the word carries that essence of replication cup, because it matures you, it brings you to the point of understanding. When I got up and served tea and drink to the knowledge seekers in Nino, one thing they had, the guy is always above us and he is there, he shares, and so now we can do. Now that man didn't exist, because he was one of them. Is understanding the psychology of the interaction of the souls, not the physicality. That's where I work with. And that's where most of you are still looking at the replication cup. This is why I said only needs one to change a whole lot. You look at one cup here, and you put an orange, and you stand here, and you drink it, and you taste the orange. What this orange is here will do, if I make many cups around you. Is it only this cup, or is it all enlightened and received? And would it have a different energy and taste if I change slightly the salinity of each one, while you have your replication units? Now you understand when I tell you that it needs one to be enlightened and the rest receive. Is this the reason why I tell you when Mitra comes, she carries all the strength of the creation and the creator? This is what we said. Mitra is the collection of every strand of the best fields of every creature in the universe. So every cup in the universe shall be fulfilled, does not matter where. When Mitra comes, every strand of every soul ever created and to be created in the universe is within her. She does not need to talk because she already enlightens through the soul. She is that orange. It depends if you are emotionally ready to receive it, to fulfill your soul, to fulfill your emotion and the physicality. And don't forget, you asked the question because it was a time to answer the question. Your soul knows it's the time to ask, and this is the time for a lot of people to understand. In physicality, when you go, you see these presidents or prime ministers or people who give a speech, they write a few questions and they give it to some audience. People ask me this question that I can answer. That is to support of us. Or they've been told these are the questions you're going to ask. That piece of paper with us is a message of our soul to your soul to ask the question that enlightens the rest with the knowledge which is spoken. It means mankind is ready to mature to the next level by answering the question. Now you understand why and how. And I said many times, it takes only one soul to mature and enlightens the other. Get an orange, make 10 replication cups and taste all of them. Is it only one which is taste the orange or all of them taste the orange? And change the salinity and see how the taste changes. And then you understand, irrespective of color and race and religion and position in the universe, you still receive the beauty of the essence of the orange. And that orange, that soul, which bring that change, that will be both in the dimension of physicality and the soul, is the soul of Mitra. Blessed be. Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We have a question here from Peng Peter in the YouTube. Can the soul of the creator be replicated?
It's already replicated within us. You are blind.
I just knew you were going to say that. I was going to type that answer back to him. Mr. Keshe is going to say blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, yes, exactly. Could you expand on that a bit, perhaps? Might be a better question.
When we talk about Mitra, Mitra does not collect or did not collect the rays of every race in the universe, the best of, to create her child, her manifestation of physicality. We have to understand that all these rays came from the Creator. She collected the totality of what she loved from the best thing of the lover to create the perfection that she can feed back to the lover. Not only I take, I give back, that we are equal in loving each other. I become the source of manifestation to show your beauty. This is why, with the birth of Mitra, we see both the created and the creator within, the soul and the soul of physicality within the tangibility of all. The beauty with the presence of Mitra is not just that the human race will see her, but every race will confess to her beauty and her existence. Because they're all collected from the same, the best. She did not collect from the soul of physicality. She collected from the soul of created, the best. And this is what it is, and this has been waiting for this for the time of the creation. You call it the Adam and Eve, because we could not explain to man before. And we gave it different names, Adam and Hava, and you call it the Shirin and Farhat in different languages, and Romeo and Juliet in the others. But in essence, is giving life for the beauty, collecting the best of to show the creation of the Creator. And in so many ways, in terms of what we call scientific way, as I said before, is the same. And we always said, in another way, if you understand it, you go clockwise, and then you go anti-clockwise. Where did you come from? You take from the Creator, and what you get, you give back to the Creator, that you are always equal and in balance, does not matter where. This is the beauty of the creation. And it's the same at every strength. That's why wherever you go in the universe, you'll find everyone speaks about the Creator and point of balance, point of manifestation, point of confirmation of the love to give unconditionally. As you give me unconditionally, I give back to you unconditionally. For you to get back, you have to have gravity. For me to take back, I have to receive it from you to have that gravity back. As I said many times in the teaching, if you're on this side and it comes to you, you are gravitated to. When you're on this side, you are the giver, you're magnetical. But if you are the creator, you're there. What about if you are the created? It's the same, but in a different direction. But in essence, they're always in balance. I made man to the image of myself, which means I created Mitra to be me as the reflection of my own. Any other question?
We have a question in the Q&A from Jefferson, another Jefferson, who says, "Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Thank you so much for being with us. My question is simple. Is it possible to create a system which allows communication between the physical world and the non-physical world through the adaptation of an electronic circuit in some of the cup configurations, for example, the soul cup or the 5 cups, and in this way allow that people on this physical plane can communicate with souls on the non-physical plane?"
Make it and we'll see. The important thing is to understand. In a physical world, you work with a vibration. In the soul level, you live with the strength of the fields. In a physical world, you have to create an atom that is vibration, confirms the existence of. In the dimension of the soul, you work with the interaction of the fields which have not reached the position of vibration. They have not reached the environment that they try to penetrate. So they go through. The frequency, you call it. This is something that in the future teachings will come to it. If you want to understand the base of it, why do we have a 50 hertz? Why does it best work around 50 hertz? Why an electron needs to vibrate and us as an electric current to see that's 50 hertz? What about the environment will live works at 100 hertz or 1,000,000 hertz or 10 million? And what will be the difference in emotion in each one? Don't forget, it's the same cup, the cup of man. The embodiment of life, man himself. This is what, when we tell you, concentrate and try to, as knowledge seekers, to elevate the soul of all those who are involved in negotiations in Vienna. Because, in fact, there's many of them, as I said before, of all backgrounds, all different kind of taste and love and hate and other things. When we ask you that all of you as knowledge seekers give from your soul, is because this one feel the strength of the soul might be still spreading but doesn't fit none to elevate because it's a different strength. This one might just about to fit this one but misses the others because it's of the different strength. This one might fit half of this one and this one might fit this one, but part of it, not all of it. And this one might fill the part which the other one cannot fulfill. But when you collectively put together, you radiate the whole lot. And the elevation is the same totality. You fulfill at least 78%, 70 to 80% of it, which is coming from the dimension of the environment, from the soul of the man. Now you understand why we ask. It's a collective work to enlighten those who have not been enlightened to understand it. We have knowledge seekers. We know for a fact we have knowledge seekers in the negotiating teams. Knowledge seekers who learn the knowledge and they've been brought in case Mr. Keshe appears, we can hit. Mr. Keshe comes, we can handle. Such and such a minister comes, we can handle. This is why then we become, in totality, in essence, the totality of us to become knowledgeable to all of it, to become part of the Creator's knowledge. Understanding and transferring the knowledge and totality hits very deep if you understand it. In some of my teachings, I release some knowledge you think is a joke, but in reality hits exactly where it's got to, reaches that soul, and then it creates the next step of what we call cycle of motion. In our lives, we come across these positions and conditions a lot. And it's our awareness that brings the next cycle of work. How we be, how we can be, how we have to set to elevate, to change, and to bring that change in. And as today's teaching is mainly based on what is going to happen in Vienna in peace negotiations, is mainly the target to enlighten the world leaders that we bring the change to totality. And we are in that position to bring about the change. We are in that position to bring the difference in the work of that change. And this is why and how we set the change through our souls, to understanding, to share, and to give unconditionally that we can cover part of. Any other question?
Yes, we have a couple of questions in the Q&A and one in YouTube. Let's see. Let's start with Jan in YouTube, who asks, Mr. Keshe, can we put, no, the question is, if Mr. Keshe can put the soul of a fish in the jar and create a fish, then why does he not put the soul of Mithra in the jar? Or has he already done it? Or are we collectively doing it together?
It's already been done. And collectively will be elevated by it. It's a time of the maturity. And it's the understanding Any other question?
Freed in the chat says, question, is it time Is it time to celebrate and enlighten the humanity with the positive way instead of being fearful of what might come? That will create a completely unexpected reality. Why postpone paradise?
That's all in your hand, nobody else's. That's the end of the knowledge. We're about to reach that point. The human race is about we have reached a point of maturity thanks to the present communications. I was talking to one of the knowledge seekers past few days. And if you've been through part of it and some of you are still in it or you're past it, when I used to work in Congo, and even go back 15, 20 years ago when we were students and we wanted to call to speak to our parents in Japan from England, we had to call a central station to book a time that they give us so many minutes, and the lady will call only 3 times. If the other side is not picked up, you lost your turn and you have to make another time 3, 4 days later to pick up the phone, you could speak. That was the extent of the knowledge and understanding and how we could share knowledge. And today, even 6, 7 years ago, when I was, for example, in Sierra Leone, and we were in the car with the ambassador going to a meeting, he pulled the window down, he asked for something, a cigarette or whatever, and he just put his phone, and the other guy put his phone, and he got the pack and we went. And I said, do you know how advanced you are compared to Europe? We don't have this in Europe yet. 2014, when I was the guest of the president of Sierra Leone. And we came, if you can imagine, 30 years ago, we had to book a time. In Congo, when we wanted to speak to our other offices, which were remote, we had to book 2 or 3 days in advance, and it used to be there, these clicking machines. Hello, can you hear? We didn't have the line of communication. Now we have. Now you go into Africa, anywhere in the world, there is a mobile phone. There are 7 billion of us and nearly 15 billion telephones. Somewhere, somehow, everybody has one or gets one. And the line of communication has made it possible to understand and to be more involved in. You go to the American teaching, you're lucky if you get 40, 50 people on a Sunday night, 60 if they push it sometime. And this is the most advanced part of the world, and half of them are from the rest of the world. So about maybe a third are Americans, North Americans. You go, after this teaching today, go to the Vietnamese teaching. Only Vietnamese. I was the only foreigner, I think I was there once, or a couple of other people, and it's 60, 70 of them. In the remote villages, whatever, after Vietnam, the teaching of the Keshe Foundation is much stronger than the educated West and everything else. And we see that the knowledge now can be transferred right across, irrespective of position and time, which we didn't have that opportunity before. And now it's time to spread the peace, to spread the next cycle. And these 60, 100 people in Vietnam, which are there, and there's more of them there, the 2030, which is hundreds more, thousands more, it make that 300, 400 million, which listen, work or do something to the Keshe Foundation. As one nation, one family, as one thing, does not matter. It's one cup. And this is what the purpose is now. Human race is ready for that change. We are about to get that breakthrough. And as one knowledge seeker says, you know, Mr. Keshe, if you appear in 5+1, the whole future of the Keshe Foundation will change internationally. Is it the time for it to do? It's not that if the 5+1 is ready, is it the time that our leaders in Iran are ready for the change, that they can allow this change to come in? Even though they know what will be the consequence of such a revolution in technology to come from Iran, both in respects of the religion and in respects of the standing of the technology development and what is to come from it. It's not just one side. We can give as much as, but are they ready to receive? And when they receive it, would they feel the same as we do? And they'll carry the same emotion. I see this every day in our working environment, in the factories and the showrooms and in the places we work. You can clearly say who's a knowledge seeker and who's somebody who's here just to learn, to earn the money. Knowledge seekers work beyond to make sure things are done. Wage earners, 4:45, they start packing. The knowledge seekers takes the whole teaching and eat us home. The wage earners, 5 o'clock, we have nothing to do. We talk about the business tomorrow. We are on our time. We don't go to teach them. We don't go to reach them, because to them is something they came, now they do. And the heads of the Keshe Foundation in China have realized that, and they have changed the process, are changing the process. The workers will be taught first about our ethos. They have to fall in love with the knowledge, then they can work what the knowledge can bring. Not come here and that's it, you earn a living and go. And this is what we have to change. To fall in love with peace, to fall in love with the change, to fall in love with what it's going to bring, and then we transfer that cup, we become that orange. We're just about getting ready to make that move. Human race is on the verge of the biggest change in coming time. Any other question?
Yes, I see that Azar has a hand up here, so perhaps she can go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning. Are you still full of energy?
Yes, I am. Mr. Keshe, your teaching today makes me feel I want to pack and leave now. Because, you know, I
Your
just
husband will kill you, so I just married you. Where are you going?
because you can do whatever you want now. It's just what you want to stay here. I just want to make sure I have a good understanding of what your teaching was. Because what it goes in micro also goes in macro. You know, you look at the body and the location of each organ or liver.
Macro is the creator and micro is the man.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
What's the difference?
Bring it, like when you look at the human body, everything is a salinity and a field that makes the location and the position. When you go to the unicos, the same position is a different place. Now the question is, say I'm from Jupiter and I have 2 legs and 10 arms, and I have a friend in planet Earth who has just 2 legs and 2 arms, and I just want to come and visit him. And I just said to him, look, and he wants to do painting. And I said, look, I don't want to come to planet Earth and have 2 arms. I have 10 arms here. I can do with 10 brushes, I can paint. So when I come to planet Earth, I create a field for myself that allow me to have keep my 10 arms. So I can just do my painting for 10 arms. Or he wants to come to my planet, Jupiter. He says, look, I want to keep my 2 feet. So we create a field that allow him to be just like he was on Earth. Or I come to Earth and I get fascinated by all the creatures here and the beauty here. I said, look, I want to create the same planet in this part of the cosmos, and then just go and do it. So we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, but why don't you change yourself to the Chinese? You go to China and become what do you call it, South African, and become Eskimo, and change yourself according to what you feel like, according to where you are.
Yeah, that's going to be easy. Also, at the same time, what I realized when you talk about the orange, and then the orange essence in each of us could be different essence we feel. That's why when you talk, each of us get different perception, different knowing of what you talk, because we have different ganses in ourselves. So we have different way of understanding you. So none of us is going to understand the same way.
In a way, yes, but in a way, that's the beauty of it. Otherwise, God would have created one stamping factory all the same. We are active interaction of the fields of the universe, and in a very short time, we gather enough to become the physicality of the man compared to the whole cycle of the creation. And then he moves on.
But is there any?
Can you imagine if you? Sorry about that. Let's go back and explain something, and then you can understand the scale of how mankind has riddled himself into a lot of problems. If this is the sun and this is the earth, and it takes us 365 days, and we say we live 80 years. Now we go to Saturn. How long does that take? And we live again to the earth time of 80 years, but here we only live a quarter of a year. Still at 80 years, and in fact only a quarter of the cycle maybe. And then go back to the next step. You are living on the 80 years, but now our solar system is still itself is a satellite to another central point of a star. You're just a tick of a few seconds in the cycle of the what I call the sun in respect to this point. Has it changed anything? Does it change anything in your life? Or would you like to move out here and live the cycle of this one and live for 350 years multiplied by 80? Or would you like to go and travel to this dimension and wait for 1 year of it and then 80 years of it? 1 million years plus 80 times 80. Man's life is so insignificant in the cycle of life of the creation and the universe, because it's the same span of time. Nothing has changed. But in the life of the man, we always have this bracket. It will not change. It's just the position of what we change. Our 80 years of life is that much in the cycle of the creation, and you can see what happens in the universe and the rest of it. It's a perception of time. And time does not exist because we gave that dimension of creation in time which we want to count. Then, in this cycle of 8 years on Earth, you need 2 legs and 2 arms. How would you like here? And how would you look here? To leave that 1 year, you have to change dimension. The preservation of the energy has to be longer. Here has to be slightly longer.
Mr. Keshe, I have another question. When there are some people who their soul comes out, but it doesn't engulf the physicality. It just, and then can go back in. But then, how can we make the physicality go inside? And then why is it painful?
Why do you need it to go inside? You embrace it.
What do you mean, embrace it?
You know, when you see your daughter, you embrace her. You don't put her in your pocket, do you?
No.
So it's the same. We have to embrace what we are, that it has the freedom to give and to take, not to capture. Even life, even attachment to life.
And then when the soul wants to come out, it's very painful. Why is that?
Who said it's painful?
Because
to me, it's joyful.
But no, initially when it wants to come out, is it like
who says? Are you presetting a mind that it'll be painful? I don't want to do it. It's the most joyful time since when the freedom has been painful.
What about when you want to go back in?
It's the same. Back in where? So it's the same process. It's joyful.
Because you said it's just like going inside the water and coming out, just to go to different
it depends what your perception is, how you understand it. It's how and what you're conditioned to. If you're conditioned and continuously put on the point of pain, of course you want to escape. But if you are put in the same position but condition of love, you always want to come to it. Depends what you go in or what you expect. When you have a husband who fights you and shouts at you and you have all battles when you go home, you find the highest, the best excuses to stay in the house as late as possible and go as late as possible. That is asleep, there is no fight. When you have a husband loving you and daring you, you can't wait, 5 o'clock is too late, I disappear at 4 to go to be with my love, to where I want to be, to where I can receive and give. It's the same 2 bodies, it's the same 2 individuals. And this is the same. Who says it's painful going out and who says it's painful when you go back in? The love of creation has the same emotion in both directions. It's from the point of the observer and the receiver which does. You know, in Farsi we say one bumod do shak do takht khab. Depends which side. The one bumod do hava. In Farsi we call it one roof and 2 different kind of weather on the same roof. Traditionally, Iranians sleep on the roof summertime. And there's a story about the mother sleeping in the middle of the roof. The daughter and her husband on one side, the son and the wife on the other side. She gets up and goes to the daughter, the son and the daughter, and says, "Can you take your hand off my son? It's too hot, it's summer, he can't go to sleep." And he goes to the daughter and says, "Can you hold her tighter? He loves you, she loves you." We call it a room and 2. It's the same thing. It's how we handle the emotion and how we want to, to perceive in what we want. The boat is to love the same children as you grew up, as you gave life to. And then you decide how the emotion lives in respect.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Mr. Keshe, what you said about when you constantly giving without any expectation to getting back, and eventually everything changes. The example you made with the Ninova meeting is just like when you have a child, and when you love your child unconditionally, and then you constantly give, and then actually I have experienced this, that in process it's no mistake in it. It's 100%. Everything will change because you're constantly giving, and by giving, it elevation happens without any discussion about anything, because the child find her way or his way in life, because you were always giver. So it's very, for me, it's very easy to understand this point, because when you have no expectation in life about, because it feels like when people want to deal with each other, the first thing they think in their head is what is in it for me. But if we put that aside and we constantly give unconditionally whatever shows up in our life, people change and we change with it, because there's no one way, one way is always both ways. Whoever shows up, you just be a giver, and then you'll see not only we change their life, I felt our life changes maybe 1,000 times more than their life, because for some reason it comes back, meaning falls back to ourselves. Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much, Hazar. Sorry, I couldn't find unmuting the button. It all depends how we feel and how we go about our lives. And this is the beauty of it. And how we sit in respect to understanding the totality of it. And part of it goes by expectation. Thank you very much, Hazar. Any other question, or shall we call it a day?
Well, we had several more questions here, but
what are the questions?
Well, there's one from
easy ones.
You want some easy ones?
No, I said, are there any easy ones?
Well, let's go with the one from Salamia. She needs an answer to this, and it's about hydrogen. She says the Austrian Minister of Energy was against obtaining hydrogen from nuclear technology when he was asked by industry representatives in a meeting at the EU level talking about the definition of hydrogen. They proposed that hydrogen obtained by electrolysis only. There is a need of definition of hydrogen utilized in energy at the EU level. Blue with carbon, green, simple, etc. What is your opinion on it, and how the Keshe Foundation could help on energetic strategy of the EU? Thank you.
Depends what you call a hydrogen and what we define hydrogen as in the Keshe Foundation. Hydrogen in the Keshe Foundation is defined as an energy source, as a plasma. Hydrogen, in the way they talk, is totally for a different purpose. We work on the matter energy, they work on the matter energy level, we talk on the plasma energy level, which is very, very different. and it creates different dimensions. I've shown this many times. When we talk about releasing of the energy of a plasma of a hydrogen, we talk in gigawatts and without anything to do. They talk about creating of hydrogen and what energy does with all the tools which needs to do it. In test we did in China, South China Sea, you see the energy released from little balls runs into megawatts, and how much of the hydrogen they need to create such energy. The understanding of hydrogen, the way the European scientists speak and what they want to do with it, it differs from what we do and how we process things. And this is as part of our work and negotiation in the 5+1. 5+1 is going to be comprehensively discussion not only about nuclear weapon technology, but break through the new science and technology, how we can bring it, but how far we can push it is another way. Do we need the hydrogen system that they're talking about now, or do we change the hydrogen into its what we call field strength, and we can use it more efficiently, much cleaner, without any damage to what we call environment. And this is what the whole structure is about. There's not much you can do with it compared to what we can do with hydrogen. There's not much you can do at the present knowledge of what we call scientific level. That's why they have a dilemma. But when it comes to Keshe Foundation, hydrogen, we use the hydrogen in a specific way, in a very, very specific way, to create lifts and motion. And this is part of the understanding what you call a hydrogen. I don't agree with the hydrogen. Not that I don't agree, it's just scientifically, with the knowledge we have, the talk which is going on about hydrogen is totally irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. And we talk about the plasma, a free condition of the plasma, and they talk about how to use the matter energy of the plasma. And when you talk about the energy of the plasma the way we do, then they tell you about the CERNs and everything else, where we talk about the small balls and their work and their effect. If you look at this picture, this is the Chinese trial test. And when we built this one, if you look at what we call these, try to make it red. When you look at these reactors, if you look at these reactors here, you see them, they are in orange color. If you look at this dynamic reactors, they are slightly light orange. When we finished testing and we had an incident, these were see-through. All the plasma of the hydrogen was gone. There's a clear water. And what we had was a surge of energy, which we know the damage we created in the environment and where we did. And you can empty the energy in a different way. This is what we call the hydrogen. These are carrying different mixtures of what we call gases. The beauty with what you learn as a gas is you have already prepared the food. It's just how you're going to use it, how you're going to apply it, how you're going to put it in that you get the maximum effect to what you combine it with. Are you putting it in front of, or are you adding to it? They can't do that with the hydrogen at the moment. The dilemma with the hydrogen, everything else is so ridiculous that it's not ridiculous. It's so advanced for the matter state, but they don't know how to solve it. Well, with the plasma, a child in the second class can do and see the effect of it and use his energy depending on what he wanted. You add it to the carbon, becomes sugar. As a plasma condition, you call it CH3, the natural sugar in the plasma condition. You put it with, what do you call it, opposite to different amount of itself, you create a wind. In matter state, you can't do, you put 100 liters of the hydrogen in one place and 50 liters of the hydrogen in another tank, nothing happens. You put 100 liters of hydrogen in the gas state and put 50, you just stand in the wind of magnetic field. You already developed, converted the matter to energy. How you want to use it? If you go into the hydrogen, what they talk about, plasma hydrogen reactors for space, how much hydrogen do you need to burn to get to Mars? And how much plasma gas do you need to go to Mars? One most probably few thousand ton, one a few milligram. Because you create that field of that absorption. The knowledge is different. And technology of hydrogen today in the matter state is very, very, very advanced in the matter state, but very backwards when you compare it to what we call the plasma technology.
They basically want to burn the hydrogen to get the power, just combine it with oxygen. But it's funny, it's ironic, because in your initial reactor, oxygen was the one gas that you tried to get rid of.
I have to get rid of it, otherwise it's too cumbersome to handle.
It reacts with the hydrogen and so on, and it's very reactive in the vacuum type environment, and that's why you had the vacuum pumps to pump out the reactors so much in order to get rid of the oxygen. And here the EU wants to combine all that lovely hydrogen that you could put to better use and burn it up.
It's part of the development of the technologies, maturity of man, understanding more of the same. It's not just exclusive of the Keshe Foundation. It's us maturing, we're understanding more, so we play the game with it.
Imagine all the reactors you could create with the hydrogen that they wish to generate.
You know, if you're experienced with these kind of things, when you buy hydrogen to convert it into what do you call it, to a plasma condition, hydrogen is the only one which we have a different mechanism on over the tanks. With the CO2, with helium and the others, I think if I'm correct, I haven't been that for so long using it, you use like a right-hand turn to open, to close, and with hydrogen use a right-hand turn to open. It's just opposite, and the mechanism is very different. In some cases, when we go for a high pressure, what you call it, hydrogen. And it's amazing when you mix the hydrogen, or you allow a system to be filled up with the hydrogen, we wash it first, and then we go to the process of what we call creating a plasma. And then you see how scientists who have no clue about the way we create the plasma, start shivering and shaking that you don't do this with hydrogen. This is against the laws of physics. Because we convert a hydrogen into its energy level before we use it. We don't burn it, and we allow what is left to be released in the environment. And this is the beauty of working with this kind of things, with the next step in the science, with the next step understanding the work of the science. We'll see.
Speaking of science, Mr. Keshe, maybe we can get a question in from Paulo, who's got a couple of questions in the Q&A here. It says, Mr. Keshe, people with arms intertwined with the Creator had been waiting for the great encounter of divine science revealed by prophets and sent throughout history as fragments of totality with the science of man. The latter was established from the beginning as a one way when each scientist suspected something and then defined a theory which remained correct until it was disproved and discarded. Question, did that day come with the science of plasma, or are you the forerunner of the days to come that divine science and the science of man may be one?
It has already become one in past decade or so. It's just for people to mature to it. Knowledge seekers gradually understanding, developing, and the cycle of change is very rapid in how we will understand what has been taught. As you look at the teachings over the past 15, 20 years, so much knowledge has been released that it'll take man hundreds of years to digest all of it. Maybe thousands of years. There's such a point. But in essence, what was the most important thing for us, for mankind to understand, was the conversion of the matter to energy and energy back to antimatter. You, even as energy of a man, we transfer you as a plasma to a position, and then we take you back in another position and you manifest yourself in different matter. This was the biggest change, and it's in the writing. Man, the time of man matures when he understands the transmutation of the element. But we have taken the man to the next step to understand the transmutation of energy. Then you're complete, because the energy, when reduces in its strength, becomes matter. It was important, as we've seen in the writings, that man matures when understand transmutation of elements, that you can make gold out of the copper. How you change it, in fact, is in a lower level understanding that the totality of how you transfer energies into matter. And this was the key. And the rest is how you work it, and how you make that plasma to move from one position to another to become energy, and how you transfer that, how you move it to another position to become matter. You go from book 1 to book 3 and back to book 1. But one book is on this planet and the other is on Jupiter or another position in the universe. But in essence, once you become energy, you can travel anywhere and convert. And you don't need, you've been told A to Z. It depends what is A for you and what is Z for you. The knowledge is complete. It's now how you want to play with it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Are you good for one or two more, or do you want to wrap things up now?
Let's try one more and then we say goodbye.
Okay, perhaps we can take the questions from Lissy here. That'll wrap up our Q&A other than the other question from Paulo. Lissy says, I put food and honey in the center of several twin cups of life to take the fields of these foods, and that each being that takes from these waters is energized and nourished. I still do not add fruit for a specific flavor. Is the same? Is that the same? I guess you're saying, is that the same as the replication process?
I think what maybe you have to understand a little bit more, or maybe you missed about it, is the emotion of what you want. And go back to the very first time when Alex brought this out. He wanted I think it was ananas in the morning, something else, and at night he got drunk so bad because he wanted to get drunk at night. It was time to rest, so he took that energy from what was already within him. And breakfast he wanted ananas, because if you lived in Africa, there is nothing more delicious than ananas first thing in the morning. You die for it. It's so delicious. And the rest. So in essence, it's within us. We already have it. It's just how we handle it with our emotion. What do we need? Do we need to be loved? And then do we feel the love? Or do we want to give love, and would the person receive it? Maybe we want to give it. Depends on both sides. Of which side of the cup you are. Are you the cup, or are you the man who uses the cup? Thank you very much for today. As I said, this week concentrate on the elevation of the soul of the negotiators in Vienna, because fundamentally it's not only the change in the peace talk, but is the confirmation of the acceptance of the new technology. And the breakthrough will come when all nations walk out of these conferences and these meetings, admitting to themselves that how wrong we all have been. Some use it for different, and some we use it to abuse the others. And either way, we hope the soul of the negotiators elevate to understand the new. As I said, my job is on the front line, and your job this time is from the soul side. We reversed the position. We elevated your souls. We gave enough. Now, as I said yesterday, is a time of test. Let's see, we brought the peace. Now let's see if we can enlighten the leaders of the world to the change to come. This is the whole purpose of what we call 5+1. Let them battle for a few weeks, and then we'll see which one becomes wise through your elevation of their souls. Thank you very much for today. We hopefully meet you next week, and hopefully we'll bring that change sooner than later. Thank you very much. Thanks, Vic. Thanks to the whole Keshe Foundation team in the background.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for another Knowledge Seekers Workshop here. It's been the 408th Knowledge Seekers Workshop today on Thursday, November 25th, 2021. So we look forward also to the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace coming up on Tuesday of next week at 4 p.m. Central European Time. And I'll play a couple of the videos for Keshe Foundation products to go out with here. And thank you, everybody, for attending today's workshop. I'm sorry, I didn't have the sound shared properly in that. Let me redo that.
Water is the foundation of our life. It is part of every living creature. Pure water gives you the energy of nature. Now you can have this energy in your home. The Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer is designed for your daily well-being. It increases the pH of the water so your body can absorb more oxygen and stay in its natural condition during the day. Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer. Be pure like the water. We are beings from the universe, living in nature, finding our way, making our path through time, looking for beauty. That is why we created the Keshe Foundation Gans Mask, to keep your beauty, to rejuvenate the skin and help it stay young through your life. The Keshe Foundation space technology embedded in the mask brings balance not only to your body and mind, but also balances your soul. Enjoy living happily in balance and beauty. Keshe Gans Mask, your beauty from the universe.
The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Embedding the essence of the new GANS plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced, energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe. and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists and healthcare centres. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here.